A very good afternoon to one and all. Today we are here for a seminar, a talk on applications of geostatics and geotechnical engineering by Anil Kumar Mehrotra sir. Uh, Now I call upon Dr. Naveen VP, HOD Civil Engineering, Amity School of Engineering and Technology, Amity University, Haryana, to give a brief introduction about Anil Kumar sir.
Yeah, thank you, Sakshi. Good afternoon, one and all. Welcome to today's webinar on application of geostatics in geotechnical engineering. Greeting from Department of Civil Engineering, Amity University, Haryana. It gives an immense pleasure to share a feeling of gratitude to introduce today's speaker, Sri Anil Mehrotra. He is a gold medalist in MSc Geology from Lucknow University. He completed his research work on topic of electric analog modeling of Doba area in Meerut district under the guidance of Professor BBS Singhal, IIT Roorkee. Later, he has joined Oil and Natural Gas Commission of Ankleshwar Project, Gujarat. Then he worked at Mineral Exploration Corporation Limited, MECL, as geology officer. Then he continued as MECL as exploration geologist up to September 2014. Then he undergone formal training and awarded a postgraduate diploma in advanced mining geostatics from France Central of Geostatics in 1993. Then he applied it for geostatical evaluation of several deposits in MECL. He was a project in charge of collaborative project with BRGM France for estimation of crude potential oil shale in northeastern part of country in Assam as well as Arunachal Pradesh. He has worked in zonal manager, especially in South Zone Hyderabad and Central Zone Nagpur in MECL. With this introduction, now I would request Mr. Anil Mehrotra to deliver a talk on application of geostatics in geotechnical engineering. Thanking you. It's over to you, sir.
Okay. Very good afternoon, Dr. Naveen, Ms. Sakshi, and all the participants of the webinar. Today's my topic is application of geostatistics in geotechnical engineering. Actually, as far as I feel, this is for the first time it is being tried in our country. Let me explain first. Geostatistics is only an estimation technique. It can estimate anything, but with certain conditions. So let me start my presentation. I have divided my presentation in 4 parts. Part 1 says about what are the geotechnical parameters which are being estimated today by empirical methods or by conventional methods. Most important parameter for geotechnical engineering is the rock mass quality is modeled by using rock mass rating, that is RMR. RMR constitutes RQD, rock quality designation, fracture frequency, FF, uniaxial compressive strength, UCS, joint conditions, JC, underground water conditions, WC. These are the major 5 factors which are considered for estimation for any geotechnical project. As you all know, that geotechnical engineering by its nature demands tools for coping with large uncertainties and variations in material properties. To identify conditions prevailing in rock mass and soil, and if satisfied, could convert geostatistics into a real design aid for geotechnical engineers. Geostatistics deals with regionalized variables. I'll tell you about regionalized variables. Regionalized variables are those which have a spatial correlation with distance. The sample values are correlated with distance. This is very important aspect of geostatistics, and that is the only difference between conventional statistics and geostatistics. The variables which have a spatial correlation, rock mass characteristics are also spatially correlated. Now, this is very important. Rock mass characteristics are also spatially correlated, and hence regionalized, they are also regionalized variables. So they cover the first condition of applying geostatistics. They have some relationship between location and data. Major task in geotechnical project is to model rock mass quality by using rock mass rating, RMR, which is a major parameter widely used in geotechnical engineering. RMR consists of a weighted sum of ratings assigned to RQD, fracture frequency, uniaxial compressive strength, joint conditions, and underground water conditions. Rock mass properties are summarized using rock mass classification. The most commonly used scheme is rock mass rating. Intact rock is defined as the rock material found between discontinuities. That is, rock mass between two discontinuities is called the intact rock. The rock mass comprises of total volume of the rock, including intact rock and discontinuities, and its mechanical behavior can be significantly different. So intact rock properties are density, permeability, and rheological behavior. Rheology is the study of the flow of soft solids. Then fourth is UCS, uniaxial compressive strength. In case of rock mass, it's necessary to characterize its discontinuities. This includes roughness, filling quality, and weathering in the discontinuity walls. Now, rock quality parameters. First parameter is strength, is determined directly by uniaxial compressive strength, that is UCS. Number two is number of joints per cubic meter, JV and RQD. So presently it is empirically calculated. RQD is equal to 115 minus 3.3 JV. This is after Palstorm 1982. Third is roughness. It is potentially important component of its shear strength after Barton and Chaube 1977. Aperture. It is a perpendicular distance separating the adjacent rock walls of an open discontinuity. The intervening space may be an open discontinuity. It may be open or filled with clay. This parameter also accounts for condition of joints or discontinuities. Filling material. It is a term for material separating the adjacent rock walls of discontinuities. For example, calcite, chlorite, clay, fault gauge, and breccia, etc. Now, the sixth is the spacing. It is recorded as a perpendicular distance between its representative members. If great variation is observed, average of spacing indicated by various members of a joint set may be taken. Most common classification of joint spacing is presented by DRA 1964-68. Orientation. Orientation of a discontinuity in space is described by the dip direction and amount of dip. That is, if one understands the dip and strike. So dip direction and amount of dip. That is, if direction is 315 degrees and the amount is 30 degrees, this is represented by 315/30. These are calculated by stereographic techniques. They are being calculated presently by stereographic techniques and computer programs after Huang and Charlesworth, 1989. Groundwater flow. It has an adverse effect on the shear strength of joints. It can be classified completely dry when there is no inflow, moist only when less than 25 liters per minute per 10 meters of length. Similarly, moderate pressure 25 to 125. Severe problems comes when it is more than 125 liters per minute per 10 meters of length of tunnel. Persistence. It is the spatial extent or size of a discontinuity within a plane. It is roughly quantified by observing the discontinuity trace length. That is, trace of the discontinuity length of that on the face of the outcrop. So it is classified as very low persistence, less than 1 meter, low persistence 1 to 3 meters, medium persistence 3 to 10 meters, high persistence 10 to 20 meters, and very high persistence more than 20 meters. Number of sets of joints. Mechanical behavior of rock mass is mainly controlled by various sets of discontinuities, their geometry and spatial distribution. The number of sets are mainly determined by contouring poles of discontinuities. So it can be classified as follows. It is being classified as follows: massive, occasional random joints, one joint set plus random, two joint sets plus random, similarly up to four or more joint sets, and crust rock. So this classification has been done by Zhang and Tong, 1988. Then Bevan-Wieski classified the RMR, also known as geomechanics classification of the rock mass, in 73. Then in 76, 79, he modified it, Bevan-Wieski, and gave 5 basic parameters which are considered for geomechanics classification. Instead of all these 10, he came down to 5 major classification, geomechanics classification. That is, first is RQD, the strength of rock, spacing of joints, discontinuities, condition of joints, and groundwater conditions. So RMR system largely depends on various joints discontinuity parameters. This is after Chaubey and Dhawan, that is Dr. Gopal Dhawan of Dhawan's Academy, 1990. A rating is allocated to each parameter, and overall rating for the rock mass is arrived at by adding the rating for all the parameters. Because RMR cannot be estimated directly as a variable, it is addition of all the 5 parameters. All the 5 parameters have to be estimated separately, and separate ratings have to be obtained, and then they are added together to give a final RMR. Now, I come to the part 2 of my presentation. This is a case study of geostatistical evaluation of a mineral deposit. Because I have included this just to give you an idea how geostatistics is applied in evaluation of a mineral deposit. So same analogy can be applied for a geotechnical project also. This is why I have included as a case study. So I will be covering this with answering these 3 questions. What is geostatistics? When to apply geostatistics? And how to apply geostatistics? So first question is, what is geostatistics? The study of variability of regionalized variables is called geostatistics. It is the basic definition of geostatistics. In early 50s, Professor D.G. Craig, a mining engineer working in a gold mine in South Africa, noticed discrepancies between the estimated grades of blocks and true grade after mining. Professor Matheron of Center of Geostatistics, Fontainebleau, France, thought that the underlying problem was the correlation existing between the sample values. This correlation had to be quantified as a function, as a mathematical function of distance between the samples. So he came out with a theory of spatial correlation between the sample values and called such variables as regionalized variables. So regionalized variables are those which samples have a spatial correlation. The root cause of wrong estimation was that the distance between the sample was not being considered while estimation. This was the basic problem of wrong estimation. The distance between the sample were not considered. He was using only conventional statistics. So the difference between the conventional statistics and geostatistics is that in conventional statistics, one deals with random samples irrespective of location of sample. While in geostatistics, a special variability is studied and try to capitalize on this knowledge. An estimator called kriging, named after Professor Krig, was developed for estimation of ore reserves and grade. Kriging is also termed as BLUE, B-L-U-E, Best Linear Unbiased Estimator. By this method, estimation error can be quantified, thus giving the prediction accuracy, which is so important for taking an investment decision before opening of a mine after exploration. When to apply geostatistics? The second question, geostatistics is an interdependent scientific discipline rather than a standalone technique. It has become a tool available to geologists and mining engineers. Now I'll add geotechnical engineers also for the purpose of characterizing a mineral deposit or a geotechnical project. A geostatistical study properly carried is generally expensive and time consuming and not cheap and fast because of use of a computer. Once it is decided to carry out a geostatistical study, objectives and assumptions should be very clearly spelled out. Now, what are the objectives? We have to clearly spell out what kind of reserves are to be estimated. First is in situ geological reserves. Second is recoverable mining reserves. What is the end use of estimated reserves, ore reserve reporting, feasibility study, or production planning, which are the relevant geological characteristics of the deposit. Now, here comes all the geological details. Geological characteristics may vary from deposit to deposit, whether homogeneous, bedded type, vein type, or different types, strike, dip, folds, faults, foliation, and joints, etc. So almost all these things are also covered in the geotechnical study also. So data considered should be clearly spelled out. Primary assay data on trace cutoff, computed zone-wise data along. Now here I am emphasizing on computed zone-wise data because of the volume variance relationship. So I'll just explain it later on. Along with associated thickness should be clearly spelled out. What are the geologist's views on continuation of mineralization? So here I am emphasizing geostatistician doesn't work in isolation. He has to work in coordination with the field geologist. So, and finally, once the thing goes to the mining side, then mining engineer is also involved. So geologist interpretation on the basis of exploration data with the help of geological sections, LV section and level plans on continuation of mineralization in depth or along strike. So these plans are prepared by the field geologist, and his views are taken by the geostatistician. Okay, what is his views of the regarding the continuation of the ore zone, ore body, that is along the strike or along the dip. In case of mineable reserves, what type of mining is envisaged, what cutoff grade is to be considered. With change in cutoff grade, shape of the ore deposit changes. And on the shape of the ore body, type of mining envisaged and mining equipment used will depend. Now, this is a very important issue because cutoff grade is a economic consideration. Because today you might be mining say 1% copper average grade. But tomorrow, if the rate of the copper increases, you may come down to 0.5% copper, and that will be economically viable. So this is the reason that reserves and grades are calculated under different cutoff, and then grade tonnage curves are drawn, and economic viability can be ascertained. So the last but not the least, last point is there should be a very proper coordination among the entire team of the geologist, mining engineer, and the geostatistician. So now comes how to apply geostatistics. So this is the third question. So collect and check data. Error-free data should be ensured before starting the study. Discuss with project geologists to find out type of sampling procedures followed, change in sampling procedure during the exploration campaign and why. If your sampling procedure changes during the same exploration campaign, then why it is changed, it has to be very clearly spelled out. Different geological zones, preferential sampling of rich zones, if yes, why? Define regions and variables to be studied. What is the volume support of the variable? Now, volume support means how much volume a sample is representing. If it is a borehole, it is considered to be a point support. If it is a channel sample data, it has a different support. And then pit sample data has a different support. Then exploratory mining data has a different support. That is different volume they are representing. One sample is representing different volume. So it's very important to remember that all the samples considered for a geostatistical campaign should have the same volume support. If you are considering borehole data, consider all the borehole data. If you are considering channel sample data, consider them separately with the channel sample. Then pit sample data, consider them separately and estimate. Then exploratory mining data, it has to be considered separately. All these data should not be combined together and mixed together. So it will give a very wrong result if your different volume supports are mixed. All the samples should have the same volume support. On perusal of this, now I'm just showing the difference by change of support, volume support. This is just an example of the P2O5, that is phosphorite deposit. Initial samples we had 2,632. Then they were having of different lengths. Some less than 1 meter, some more than 1 meter. So we regularized them to 1 meter. So instead of 2,632, the number of samples increased to 3,143. Now you consider the variance. Initial samples, 2,632 samples, has a minimum value of 0, maximum value of 34.1, mean was 6.98, and variance was 51.56. Once it was regularized to 1 meter, all the samples of the same volume, so variance decreases. It goes to 43.87. When now we regularize on the basis of the bench height. So if 6 meter bench height, if it was regularized, so number of samples come to 565 only. And variance decreases from 51.56 to 35.03 with 6 meter length and 1 meter from the bottom. And if you do 6 meters height and 2 meters from the bottom, it further reduces to 34.73. So finally, we take the final figure of 6 meters and 2 meters, that is 6 meters the bench height and 2 meters at the bottom. So the minimum variance is 34.73. So I think everybody understands what is the variance and standard deviation. If somebody has a question, please ask. Then a basic statistical test to be carried out to understand the behavior of the variable, mean, variance, standard deviation, scatter plot, frequency distribution, and histograms. These are all called the standard test to be carried out before starting it. Basic statistical test should be carried out to give an idea of what is the behavior of the variable. Histogram gives a clear idea of it's a right skewed histogram. Now comes the geostatistical tool called experimental variograms. I told that is variogram is a mathematical function of distance with variance, variation of distance with variance. So in this case, all the 4 directional variograms, experimental variograms have been calculated and shown in this figure. And then another condition for geostatistical study is second order stationary to be fulfilled. That is, second order stationarity is called, that is mean and variance. These are 2 orders of stationarity. First is mean, second is the variance. The mean and variance of the variable should be constant up to a certain distance. Why distance? I'll tell you now, just after some time. Check for outliers and their locations. The outliers are what? Very high values or very low values. So location of outliers within the deposit is very important because it may affect the economic viability of a deposit. Then calculation of experimental variogram. These are the 4 directional variograms, experimental. Now, the last step in this is called the fitting of variogram model. There are different types. I am not going into details of different types of variogram models. That is a very vast chapter. So this it is shown, this particular line is the fitted variogram model on the 3 directions, in the vertical side and 2 direction in the horizontal plane. So this gives the 3 parameters. Variogram gives the 3 parameters. Nugget effect. Nugget effect is the distance on the y-axis from where the variogram starts. It is not starting from 0. It is starting from somewhere here. So this particular part, 0 to this part, is called nugget effect. Sill is the on y-axis the highest point at which it becomes flat. So this is nugget effect, and this is the sill. Sill plus nugget effect is the total sill. C, that is C0 plus C. And this distance on x-axis where it becomes flat is called the range of the variogram. So the range is very, very important. This is why I said second order stationarity should be fulfilled up to a certain distance. That is the distance of range of the variable. Now I come to the estimation stage. Now you see, in this particular case study, I have tried to do Kriging under different permutation and combinations. This neighborhood column speaks about 3 by 3 by 3, means 3 blocks in x-axis, 3 blocks in y-axis, and 3 blocks in z-axis. 5 by 3 by 3 speaks 5 in x-axis, 3 in y-axis. Similarly, 5 by 5 by 7, 7 by 5 by 5, 7, 5 by 7, likewise. I have done exercises almost 7, 8 times to get the minimum estimation variance, which neighborhood area is, that is what is the area which will be considered for estimation along x-axis, the number of samples coming in this area. That is called neighborhood area. So number of samples which will be considered for estimation in this particular area. So if I have highlighted the 5 by 5 by 7, estimation variance is 2.94, which is minimum of all of them. So I consider that this is the best estimation, the best possible combination of neighborhood. So this gives you a minimum variance of 2.94 and the slope of regression, etc. This all the computer program gives the entire thing. So now this is a very important thing which represents in one figure itself, that if you see of the same section, I have taken two figures. One is of the Kriged grade and other is of the Kriged variance. That is your estimation variance. So wherever you are getting a higher grade, you are getting a lower variance. That means your estimation is more reliable in that area. This gives a very clear picture of estimation accuracy, prediction accuracy. Very clear picture. And wherever there is a higher Kriged variance, so it should be retried by adding more samples to increase the your prediction accuracy. So finally I come to this, misuse of this technique can lead to disappointment, if not damaging results. So be cautious about it. Technique should not be misused. Whatever conditions I have told when to apply and how to apply, those conditions has to be properly followed, and then the technique should be utilized. Otherwise, you will result into damaging results or lead to disappointment. Now, I come to part 3, application of geostatistics for estimation of rock mass rating, RMR parameters. This technique can only be applied under certain conditions. There should be a special correlation between sample values, that is, they are regionalized variables. All the samples should have same volume support because of volume variance relationship is very important. Then condition of second order stationarity should be satisfied. Mean and variance should be constant for certain distance. So, application of geostatistics for estimating RMR parameters in geotechnical engineering. Geostatistics were originated to solve problems of estimating using kriging, also known as best linear unbiased estimator. It imposes minimization of estimation variance or estimation error. Geostatistics mainly uses various kriging methods for estimation of regionalized variables on the basis of structural analysis, to evaluate and solve practical problems of estimation. It also has many other important tools such as conditional simulation and indicator kriging, correlation coefficient, standard deviation, that is square root of variance, and mean are used to describe the degree of correlation between variables. Main job by utilizing geostatistical technique is to model RMR rock mass rating for any geotechnical project. Block kriging is used to estimate average values of an indicator of rock hardness. If you put one indicator for rock hardness, then it can be used as an indicator, and to characterize the distribution of fracture joints. That means your rock hardness, fracture joints, to understand the spatial distribution and different scales. For these parameters, block kriging can be used. Ordinary kriging is utilized to estimate RQD distribution, associating the estimation of standard error as a measure of reliability. Since RMR is not an additive variable, hence correct approach of estimating RMR is to estimate or simulate each of the parameter of RMR, RQD, your FF, UCS, JC, and WC, which are regionalized variables, to assign a rating to the estimated or simulated value of each parameter. To obtain the final rating of RMR, sum of all the ratings is obtained. When the variable has a log normal distribution, logarithmic kriging method can be used. Random kriging can be used when the data is less, distribution is not, and the prediction accuracy is not required to be high. There can be stages. Actually, in the first stage, you don't want your prediction accuracy to be higher, then random kriging initially can be used. Then an indicator kriging can also be utilized. So these are the different geostatistical techniques which can be used for different parameters, geotechnical parameters for estimation. Now I come to the prime reasons for geostatistics not being utilized for design of a geotechnical project include widespread unfamiliarity with the concepts of geostatistics. This is the basic thing. Okay, widespread unfamiliarity is there of the concept of geostatistics, particularly in our country. Even in mining industry, it is not being applied everywhere. Lack of geostatistical software that can be really used in estimation of geotechnical parameters constituting rock mass rating, RMR. Now, this is, I come to the part 4, the success story of application of geostatistics in finalizing the alignment of English Channel Tunnel project by BRGM France. That was in 1960s when the English Channel Tunnel project was completed. Success story of application of geostatistics in alignment of English Channel Tunnel project. This exercise was done by BRGM France. This is a milestone story of application of geostatistics in design of English Channel Tunnel. It enables careful assessment of geological risk and was used to optimize the alignment of the tunnel. While selecting an optimal alignment of the tunnel, a governing criteria was to ensure that the tunnel passes only within the chalk marl, that is chalk marl lithology, avoiding the gold clay lithology. Kriging, a geostatistical technique, was used to determine the boundary between chalk marl and gold clay based on available data prior to construction. Contours of standard deviation of predicted depths. Now, contours of standard deviation of predicted depth means what? The standard deviation is a square root of variance. So that means you you can say that contours of variance of the predicted depths of this boundary were also generated. Either you talk of standard deviation or square of standard deviation, that is variance. That is, the square root of variance is standard deviation. Geostatistical analysis enabled engineers to improve the tunnel alignment. The standard deviation contours helped to identify the tunnel sections at which improved precision was required, which in turn enabled design of successful complementary geophysical surveys of the seafloor. So as the data became available from these surveys and ongoing construction, tunnel engineers used geostatistics to repeatedly improve the spatial model of chalk marl gold clay interface. The result was that the channel engineers were able to keep the risk of penetrating the gold clay at acceptable levels and were able to achieve their objectives of avoiding the gold clay formation. Now, finally, I come to the conclusions. Geotechnical behavior may significantly impact in the cost and performance of projects in hydropower and tunnels. Prediction of geotechnical variables is one of the most relevant requirements of such projects. It should be utilized not just during the ground investigation, also in data processing and interpretation. It should be a continuous process, a dynamic process. Thus, geostatistical techniques provide an interesting alternative for estimation of geotechnical parameters. It gives a more precise estimation with minimum estimation variance by taking into account and using spatial correlation between sample values of the variables. Besides, estimation technology provides prediction accuracy. This can be used for risk analysis and for the design of the project site. My opinion is that the geotechnical engineers and engineering geologists should be encouraged to explore geostatistical techniques as a possible alternative to the techniques that are in use today. It should be tried in a phased manner on an experimental basis to make a beginning. This will give a quantum leap in developing confidence of designing. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Now it is time for the discussion. Now I request participants, if you have any question.
Acha, Dr. Naveen.
Yes, sir.
Is it being recorded or not?
It is recorded live telecast.
Fine.
It is going on.
So, kindly send me the recorded version.
Yeah, it will be available. In the coming days, it will be there. Now it is discussion with speaker participants. I request participants, if you have any questions, please drop that in your chat box. Sir, we got few questions. They are asking what is the formula for calculating the sample size?
Formula for calculating the sample size?
Yeah, if you are deciding.
There is no formula. Okay. But if you take a sample of 5 meter by 5 meter or 1 meter by 1 meter, take all the samples of the same size.
Okay.
That is the same volume.
Okay, it is a volume based. Okay. And the next question they are asking, as you said that the variance should be as minimum as possible. What is the definite range for the same? If you are mentioning,
no,
they are asking
actually the estimate, I am talking of estimation variance.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That is estimation variance, that is the prediction accuracy.
Yes, sir.
What error you have incurred while estimation. That is defined as estimation variance. So by doing different permutation combinations, to see what estimation variance you are getting in each combination. And then you decide the final thing which is giving you the minimum estimation variance. This is what I had shown in the table also. Okay. I had done 8 times different exercises. And in what this thing I got the minimum estimation variance that I took as my estimation possibility. That gives me the minimum estimation variance. There
Minimum
is no
estimation.
limit.
Yes, sir.
If you increase your data, your estimation variance will come down further.
Estimation means accuracy.
Yeah, whatever error you have
Yes,
incurred
error.
while estimation.
Yes.
Actually, I don't know, participants know about variance. What is variance? So that is a very basic question.
Yes, yes.
Because I have taken almost more than 100 lectures on this, and I have asked this question in every lecture. People answer, sir, पढ़ा तो था सर याद नहीं है.
Same.
Variance पढ़ा तो था सर याद नहीं है. तो मेरा एक्सप्लेनेशन होता है उसमें, एक आप एक्स वाई एक्सिस और वाई एक्सिस खींचो, बीच में एक मीन की लाइन खींच दो.
Yes, sir.
और जो सैंपल वैल्यू मीन के ऊपर है, जो सैंपल वैल्यू नीचे है, different sample value, the difference between the mean and the sample value is called the variance.
Thank you, sir. Nice explanation. And last question, they are asking which all the softwares dedicated for geostatic part.
Yeah, actually, I am using software developed by GeoVariance of France.
Okay.
ICERTIS 6.1.
Okay.
So this they have got two modules. One is the mining module, and other is the oil module. That is your petroleum module.
Okay.
So I am requesting them for last 1 year to develop a module for geotechnical separately.
Okay.
So there is no software as yet specifically made for geotechnical.
Yes, yes. The first time you are applying this geostatic to geotechnical project.
No, I am not applying. I am just trying to introduce this aspect in geotechnical, because there is no acceptability.
Yes, yes.
First, the acceptability has to come, and once acceptability comes, then we have to do a experimental case.
Yes.
Take a project, do estimation by this also, do estimation by conventional method also, then compare.
Yes.
Then come to a conclusion which method is better.
Definitely. I agree with you, sir. Last question, just I want to know, can we extend this application in geo-environmental also?
Yes. Any variable which has got a special correlation can be estimated.
Then
any variable.
Definitely, I will discuss with you on this topic. Now we are running short of time. Now I request Sakshi Gupta to deliver the vote of thanks, sir. So thank you, and you have presented.
It's a completely my pleasure.
Thank you. Now it's over to Sakshi Gupta. Sakshi Gupta, please.
Thank you, sir. On behalf of Department of Civil Engineering, I, Sakshi Gupta, would like to present the vote of thanks. My sincere thanks to Anil Kumar sir for an insightful and thought-provoking talk, who spent his busiest time gracing the occasion. Thank you, sir. Your thoughts have enlightened our minds, and we would like to get more introduced to this subject. I would like to extend my gratitude and heartfelt thanks to the founder president, Dr. Ashok K. Chauhan, Chancellor, Amity University, Haryana, Dr. Chancellor, Amity University, Haryana, Dr. Asim Chauhan, Vice Chancellor, Dr. P.V. Sharma, for giving us an opportunity to conduct such events at a bigger platform. I would like to express my special thanks to our Pro Vice Chancellor, Dr. Padmakali Banerjee, for providing us all the assistance and opportunity to conduct this event. And our director, Amity School of Engineering and Technology, Dr. Shalini Bhaskar Bajaj, for being supportive throughout. I would like to extend a warm thanks to each one of the participants, the students, the research scholars, and faculty who have attended the event today. Without you, this event won't have been a success. Lastly, without the support from the HOD Department of Civil Engineering, Dr. Naveen BP, and all the faculty members and staff members, this won't have been possible. I would like to extend my special thanks to Mr. Sanjeev for helping throughout the event. I would again extend my thanks to all for adorning the event today. Looking forward for more participation in the coming events as well. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.